one can imagine that she is a babysitter with this outfit and appearance. Every action of her is very strange. Her owner Anne just asks her to take care of children, but she gives breastfeed to them. She also looks after the master David after he comes home. But the more scared thing is that she is planning a perfect plan. Few months ago, Anne was pregnant her second baby. She didn't want to be careless, so that she went to hospital checking periodically. Unexpectedly, her doctor got some trouble, so that the hospital arranged another for her. This man is a careful and polite doctor, but he did something quite impolite. He took advantage of checking for Anne to touch her body. She was very angry. She got out of there without continuously checking. She felt too ashamed and sad that she shared it to her husband David. He advised her to report the doctor after thinking carefully. If she didn't divulge, there will be still many women treated like that. Firstly, she didn't think much, but after listening her husband's advice, she felt more brave. They revealed what the doctor did. When this news was published on social media, many people confirmed that they got the same situation before as well. That doctor became a criminal. He lost his job and was criticized so much too. After that he couldn't suffer. He committed to suicide. David worried his wife's status so that he didn't tell her anything. Not long after, Anne gave birth a baby boy. A new life started, made her feel quite big. 6 months later, she told her husband to grow a flower garden. When she was a child, she liked growing flowers so much, because at this time she had much of free time. She wanted to do her passion. Although David accepted, he quite worried about her health. He didn't want her to work hard after giving birth. He offered to hire a babysitter to decline her housework, and wanted to do that also, so she found some information. Unexpected, there was a woman coming her home the next morning, but this woman doesn't look like a babysitter. Her appearance makes Anne be impressed. Mary knows that Anne is worrying about her. She tells Anne that she could not have a baby because of her health. This makes Anne heart-touched. Mary wants to make up for her deficiency, so she chooses this job. We can see that a reason is very logic, right? When they are talking, the baby cries upstairs. Anne takes Mary to go around her house and make acquaintance with working. When David opens the door, repairing window staff seems to have some problems. Although he is tall and big, he is just like a 7-year-old child. Because of this reason, Anne always takes care of him very carefully. Jack is very sensitive, so that he thinks Anne is a kind person. When he takes the initiative shaking hands with Mary, he carelessly grimes her shirt. Although he says sorry to her, her attitude is still contemptuous. After that he realizes this woman is good as he expected, but Anne isn't wary with her, and understands Mary's situation, so she invites Mary have dinner with her family. Mary sees Anne's piercing dropping, but she just quietly looks at it. At this time, Anne is talking about hiring Mary with her husband. She thinks Mary is very suitable for this position, but David still considers. They begins arguing with each other. They hears a yelling from living room. She takes the piercing, then she says that the baby almost swallows it. Her action makes a good impression with this couple, so she gets this job. She brings the wind chimes and says that it can help babies sleep better. Jack sees Mary in the house. He feels very scared. At midnight, when everyone sleeps deeply, Mary takes a pillow to cover the camera. She does everything fluently as his real mother, then she gives him breastfeed. She feels very happy. Not long after, Anne's close friend comes to visit. Because she is an experienced person, she could know Mary's intention. She also reminds Anne not to leave an attractive woman in her house. She will lose her position. She thinks Mary is a dangerous person. But Anne doesn't pay attention to her friend's advice. She doesn't know that Mary planned everything perfect after she drank. When Anne is traveling for business, Mary usually takes baby go for walking. Everyone thinks that she is the biological of this baby. Mary did not explain, but she casually accepted. Her plan is also about to succeed. Anne has 2 children, so her next goal will be to persuade the other child, Emma. When she found out that Emma at school was bullied by her friends, Mary taught them how to treat better. That action made Emma trust her and rely more on her. They are increasingly close to each other, and also discovered unusual features of the baby. She went to ask Mary if she had had any problems lately. She was as calm as if nothing happened. David appeared, interrupting their conversation. Anne felt that her husband was too busy, so she wanted to help him with the mail. He told Anne carefully that she had to send the exact address. This rare opportunity Mary could not ignore. She made excuses. Then she went to Anne's workplace. She used the excuse of going there to study, but she actually came to look around. When no one noticed, she stole the letter. Then she went to the toilet and tore it all up. Her image at the moment is extremely scary. What deep feud did she and Anne's family have? Anne still casually went to the sender of the document, but it was gone. She was so regretful and anxious that she incurred asthma again after many years. Mary pretended to console her, but she was actually very happy. She thought they would quarrel because of this, but David was not angry. He is very enthusiastic about his work. Mary's plan was unsuccessful, so she made a new plan. She voluntarily went to David's workplace. That caused his colleague to suspect this relationship. He was annoyed and was about to question her, but she spoke first. The next few days is Anne's birthday. She wants to surprise her. Of course he agreed. She was delighted and said to let Anne's best friend host the party. A stranger like her shouldn't do anything. David said he would contact his wife's friends. When the mission was completed, she quickly left. After returning home, she continued to breastfeed the baby. All were seen by Jack outside the window. He hurriedly hid down below. Mary did not need to pretend anymore. She ran to Jack and scolded. She slapped him and said that if he revealed this, he wouldn't be going well. Jack is deeply distressed. He wants to protect Anne's family, but he doesn't know how to say it. Mary told Anne that Jack was overly enthusiastic about Emma. When they play with each other, there will also be little physical contact, and said that he was a simple man, so he would not harm anyone. Mary saw Anne's attitude and dared not say more. She continues to carry out her plan to kick Jack out of here. That afternoon, she told Anne that she didn't know where the toy tram was gone, and said that maybe because Jack was playful, so he put it away. She went to his wooden crate looking for. She suddenly found out that Emma's clothes were hidden. This proves that Jack is an indecent person. She gets scared and kicks Jack out of her house. Then she called someone to bring his gear. After a series of events, she blamed herself for not protecting her daughter well. But Mary was lying next to Emma. That night, she said that Jack was chased away for her mother. Emma considers Jack like her best friend, but they can't be together anymore. The little girl is very angry with her mother. Then Anne discovered that Emma was growing further and further away from her. But she didn't know what to do. She doesn't know what the cause is. David felt that his wife's mood was not good, so he hesitated whether to have a birthday party. Mary advised him to make the party to cheer her up. David agreed, so he immediately called everyone to proceed. In the afternoon, when Anne's best friend Julie got out of the car, Mary stole her lighter. That evening, David used the pretext of overtime to go see Julie. They discussed organizing a party for Anne. At home, Mary tells Anne about a man's adultery that worries her. She thought her husband was working, so she called to inquire. His colleague said that not everyone left the lab a long time ago. After David got home and asked him about it, he replied that because he was working in another room, his colleague did not know, and smelled his cigarette smoke. He doesn't normally smoke, but when he met Julie he did. Anne did not want to complicate things, so she ignored it. In the middle of the night, David woke up and heard a noise downstairs. He took his weapon and went to check. Unexpectedly, he found Mary cleaning out the refrigerator. She wore her thin nightgown and asked if he had a drink. He refused and went back to his bedroom. The next morning, Anne went to the laundry to pick up her clothes. The owner of the laundry shop discovered a lighter in David's pocket. Anne took it and found that this was the type of lighter that Julie used to use. She thought of the cigarette smell on David. She was sure they were cheating. After she got home, she got angry with her husband. She showed him evidence and asked him. David tells her to calm down because there are many friends outside the living room, and went out to find many guests holding a cake to celebrate her birthday. Among them are Julie. She was very disappointed, so she left. Mary happily enjoyed the drama she created. After saying goodbye to everyone, Anne blankly looked out the window. She knows that she hurt Julie. She wants to apologize but doesn't know how to say it. David consoled his wife and apologized for his lack of preparation and allowed her to misunderstand. She said that changes in their lives have occurred since Mary arrived. Mary had overheard the conversation because she kept bugged all over the house. She knew she was being suspected, so she had to hurry up and execute the plan. Early the next morning, Mary went into the garden. Her last weapon is this glass. Unfortunately, Anne did not go into the garden today. She went out to buy things. Julie also happened to find that there was a wind chime in the dead doctor's house. This made her feel extremely suspicious. Through investigation, she discovered that Mary was his wife. This woman is Mary. Julie was about to tell Anne the truth, but Mary picked up the phone again. She went to her friend's house to expose Mary's identity. She knew that she was exposed, so she led Julie out into the garden. She made an excuse that Julie gradually went looking for Anne, but Julie fell into her trap. She was dropped by glass shards and died. Mary casually watched what was going on. She took away Anne's asthma medicine. Then she pretended like nothing happened and pushed the baby out. When Anne got home, she found the body of her best friend. She called the ambulance, but had not finished talking when her asthma returned. She looked for medicine, but unexpectedly it was empty. She looks for the potion in her bag. She was breathing hard, now looking at her extremely miserable. She fell to the floor before she got out the door. Luckily, she called an ambulance just now. A very quick ambulance arrived and was safe after a timely emergency. Julie passed away due to her injuries. Mary, while there was no one in the house, seduced David, but he is very alert and faithful to his wife. His tough attitude caused her to change her plans. Some time later, Anne recovered and was discharged from the hospital. After she returned, it was discovered that Mary had repaired the baby's room. She also saw that Mary was like the mistress of this house. She was heartbroken and just quietly left. That day when she was carrying clothes to wash, accidentally discovered the note Mary left. Content is something to talk about, because to find out the reason, Anne went to Julie's office to look for clues. On the table was the real estate report. The owner of the house was the doctor. She immediately went to the scene and found the very familiar decorations. She could guess that Mary was his wife. After returning, she beat Mary to the ground. She didn't show any mood and casually left, and decided to move out to live temporarily for a few days. While David was packing, he heard a noise downstairs. Turns out she was still hiding in the house. She beat David fainted. Anne heard an unusual sound, so she alerted the police. But she doesn't know that Mary is behind her. Emma, seeing her mother in danger, shouted. Even though she promptly avoided it, Mary still refused to let it go. She swung her cane in panic. Then Anne was hit and passed out. After having beaten her parents, Mary wanted to take the baby away. Emma already knew everything, so she locked the door and locked her up. Then she hugged her brother and ran to another room. Mary was locked up, so she was mad. She tried her best to get out. She obeyed the sound and went upstairs. Jack helped the sisters escape. He knew that she wanted to steal the baby, so he could only pick up the baby. He did not intend to actively attack. At the most crucial moment, Anne took a knife and stormed through it. But Mary was very violent and could not fight her. After a while they were both injured. Mary found her weak, so she went over to Jack and got the baby back. In order to protect her son, Anne got up and tried her best to push her out the window. She finally pays the price and also got rid of her nightmare. This film was published in 1992. Although the context is simple, it has a great meaning. It advises people not to trust others easily. This could bring to us serious consequences. The film ends.